What is up, my friends, and how's it going? And welcome back to the 4th episode of our Let's Play Sweboz series with your fellow comrade Summary. I do apologize for the delay in releasing this episode. Of course, most of you who have been following me on the YouTube community will know that I wasn't well. Especially I couldn't really speak so much because I had a lot of cough and I still haven't made a full recovery. However, it's been long past that this video be released, so I have decided to go ahead and record it. So please do excuse me if I do cough in between the episode. I deeply apologize for that. However, without any further ado, of course, let us hop right into the episode. We can go ahead, turn off all of the notifications, and very quickly we are going to cover what transpired in the previous episode. Of course, in the previous episode we managed to consolidate our holdings of Swabia as well as Lugia. We managed to conquer Vistula. We managed to conquer the entirety of Lugia using the Bodini tribe to kind of declare war against the Eastern Germanic people, one by one, picking them apart and consolidating our control over the province of Lugia. And of course, the objective of this episode would be to push down south into Raetia at Noricum. Raetia at Noricum does have some Germanic cultural influence, so we are going to try to capitalize on that. For that, we will have to declare war against the Nori, the Raetia, as well as the Helvetii. We have two of our armies at the border of Raetia at Noricum. We have Harjas 2 Tencterijos, and of course we have Harjas 1 Sweboz, and of course the character has leveled up. So let's go ahead, give him that some of the abilities. We can get two of these. They should give battle rhythm, which is a really powerful ability. However, let's take a quick look at all of our characters. All of them seem to be fine. Our economy seems to be fine as well. We're making 16,483 denarii per turn. We have about 66,840 denarii in our treasury, so things are not too bad as far as economy is concerned. We are speccing up Lugia to be an industrial province. Meanwhile, we're speccing up Swabia to be our main military recruitment province. Magna Germania and of course Hercynia, other two provinces, are specializing in food generation for the moment, of course. However, as we conquer more lucrative provinces, we will be slowly speccing these provinces out of food generation, and we will be focusing a lot more on that research rate as well as resource production. Another thing you might notice is that I have gone ahead and adjusted some of my graphic mods file, and I will update them in, of course, my Discord server. But as you can see, I have decided to activate the trade lines. As you know, we have the province borders as well as all of the sea region borders turned off, so that it gives that contiguous map look without those divisions, which I kind of like. However, I have decided to turn on, of course, the trade routes, because the trade routes quite important to understand how good your trade is going. Meanwhile, we have a ship over here that I will be converting into a fleet really soon enough. Quick look at the character over here. He is focusing on fleet, so we are going to go ahead and start building up our fleet over here so that we can deal with the piracy situation in, of course, the Britannic Ocean as well as the Baltic Sea. However, that being said, let's take a quick look at all of our provinces, and things seem to be fine over here. We are going to upgrade this into a shaman's hut, and the reason being is we are trying to maximize our growth rate in the region. Of course, if we take a quick look at our growth rate over there, you can see that we have 100% growth rate in Lugia, which is good because it is an economic province. We want to level it up as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the growth rate in other regions is about 50%, which I consider to be quite good. However, about 75% is really good, and of course 100%, nothing like it. Quick look at Lugia once again. As you can see, we are speccing up into industry, which means we are going to focus a lot on the buildings that provide industrial benefits, such as the clay pit, which gives a +2 wealth from industry buildings with the commercial stimulation edict. Of course, when it comes to our resource chains, we are going to focus on the chain that gives us a lot more industrial wealth. If we take a quick look at the province details, you can see that our manufacturing industry has a +119% 83%, which means we are getting more than double. So for example, with the trapping expeditions, we are not making 200 wealth from manufacturing industry. Instead, we are making a little over 400 wealth from manufacturing industry. So as you can tell, it is really, really powerful. Meanwhile, over here, you can see some of the other buildings have been maximized. However, without any further ado, let us proceed into the campaign. Of course, we want to attack Noria, but we don't have a line of sight. It's really been a long time since I have played this campaign, so I'm kind of trying to get my bearings on what exactly is going on. We have a spy all the way in the east. We have managed to discover the entirety of the Black Sea, so we are trading with as many people as possible. If we look at our overall income, as you can see, our trade is pretty robust. We are making almost the same amount as our taxation. However, that will change as we progress into the mid-game. I would say we are almost reaching the mid-game, but once we actually conquer a bit more, then we should be in the mid-game. Of course, we have expanded really explosively. As you can see, we're still in, the year 264 BC. We started out at 279 BC. So not a lot of turns have transpired. However, we have managed to grow really quickly, and that is due to a very solid start. Of course, we have a dignitary in the region over here, and the idea is to move him into Raetia at Noricum and kind of deploy him so that he begins culturally converting this province. We want it to be Germanic culture, of course. Currently it is at 83% Celtic culture. Now I am considering whether I should move into Raetia and Noricum, and that is because it is autumn, and what that means is during winter I could take attrition. However, I could also take attrition in Hercynia, so there's not that much of a deal. So we are going to start to slowly move towards of course this area over here. We have gone ahead and cancelled all of our agreements with the tribes, Celtic tribes over here. So we are going to look to conquer them real shortly. Meanwhile, Britannia is being consolidated by the Iceni. Of course, they are in a war against the Celts, so a lot of interesting things might happen in the western half of Europe over here, in Gaul as well as Britannia. And now this can go one of two ways. Either the Iceni could get an upper hand and start to gain a foothold in Gaul, which most likely seems to be the case in most of my campaigns. And meanwhile, we have an Averni that is kind of consolidating its rule over the Gallic factions over here. So in the future they could actually clash with the Iceni. So really a lot of interesting things excuse me excuse me happening on, of course, the western side of Europe. However, back into the campaign, we even have the entirety of Roma discovered. As you can see, they have managed to get a foothold in Africa, of course. And just excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of water. Alright, so they have managed to get a foothold into Africa. They're pushing into Carthage, and we know what that means. It means that soon enough they are pretty much going to own the entirety of northwestern Africa. However, I'm not entirely sure if the Nori have an additional army over here. At the moment, this is the prime time to attack in case they don't have an army nearby, because I will be able to get the garrison out and be able to crush them decisively. So let's actually go ahead and do that. Of course, we are leading Harjas 1 Sweboz with our faction leader Baldwin, so we're going to go ahead, declare this war. Of course, if we declare the war directly against them, we're going to call in all of their allies, and I don't want to do that. So what I am going to try to do is I'm going to try to see, okay, so they are at war with the Romans. Maybe the Romans will allow us to join the war against them. Of course, they are rejecting it. Who else are they at war with? They are at war with the Dalmatae. So the Dalmatae seem to be a little bit desperate, so they might actually accept us joining the war. So there we have it. We are at war with them. Of course, we have taken a bit of a diplomatic hit. However, I'm not too concerned. What we are going to do is we're going to go ahead, attack this army, and that is perfect. We are able to draw out the garrison, and I'm not going to go for the night battle because, of course, if I do that, the garrison won't be able to reinforce. So what I am going to do is quick save over here, hop on to the battle, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, here we are in the first battle against the Nori. We are just attacking their capital settlement, in fact the army outside their capital settlement, hoping for their reinforcements to complement them so that we can completely crush the garrison before besieging the capital itself. Of course, quickly gonna pause over here, gonna take a quick look at our entire army. As you can see, we have divided our army in our new strategy that I have covered in some of my previous factional overview series. We have our far left flank and our far right flank consisting of course Sarmatian cataphracts. We have our immediate left flank and our immediate right flank, and we have our core infantry in the middle. So let's just quickly cover what each of these units or each of these divisions consist of. And of course, on our immediate left flank, we have our Hari Knight Strikers. These are our melee Hari warriors, of course, and behind them we have our Sweboz veteran skirmishers. These guys are really good hybrid skirmishers with good decent melee capabilities. Of course, we even have our Sweboz archers on that left flank because the idea is to use them in order to shoot into the unshielded side of the enemy. Meanwhile, our core or our center consists of course our Cherusci pikemen. These guys are going to be replaced because of course I have considered some of the comments in the comment section where you guys want me to run with a typically melee focused army, so I am eventually going to replace these guys. But as you can see, I have gone ahead and arrayed them in that oblique order, of course following a very Hellenistic style, considering that these guys are very Hellenistic in their capabilities. They are a pike unit, two-handed pikeman unit, but they don't have shields, which makes them a bit vulnerable to missile fire, but they are 300 men strong, so they're nothing to scoff at. Meanwhile, protecting their vulnerable right flank, which is unshielded, we have our Cherusci axemen. And of course, we even have our general's bodyguard unit, a noble Germanic swordsman. We do not have access to a cavalry type of general, so we are going to have to rely on this unit until we hit our reforms. Meanwhile, on our immediate right flank, we have our champions of Tivas. These guys are a very heavy hitting fear ability unit with a lot of armor pen, and of course on their flank we have our Hari Nightwalkers. Now these guys are a spear version of the Hari Knight Strikers. Similar capabilities, they are shock spear unit, really good stats considering our general is super leveled up. However, with that, let's go ahead and continue the battle. And over here, as you can see in the distance, we have the Norian general's bodyguard unit, and I noticed that their reinforcements is coming in from the left hand side of the battlefield, so I am trying to realign my army as best as possible, and I am going to try to wipe out this general's bodyguard as quickly as possible using my cavalry. We're going to try to charge at them from all sides. Keep in mind that these Sarmatian cataphracts are really heavily armored, and they will be able to dispatch this unit quite effectively if we charge them from multiple directions, of course. Over here, I do notice a slight incline or slight slope in the field, so what I'm trying to do is try to charge at these units from the high ground as well as from the low ground, but mainly I'm going to use the high ground for that rear charge in order to inflict maximum casualties. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, trying to encircle this unit from both sides. Of course, this unit does have an ammunition, so they are going to throw their precursor javelins at my cavalry. However, my cavalry extremely heavily armored, so it's not really going to impact them. Meanwhile, because they threw their javelins, we're getting a clean charge. We're going to charge in from the other side as well, getting a beautiful charge over here. And as you can see, these guys are losing pretty decisively. They've already lost about 25% of the men in their unit, and they are still losing decisively. Despite being a spear unit, we are able to dispatch this unit with relative ease. Meanwhile, keeping a close eye out on the reinforcements, you can see some lightly armored melee units making their way towards the battlefield, of course. Although it says that they are melee units, They do have a spear, which is kind of awkward. However, I'm not too concerned. What I am going to try to do is my level best to wipe out the general over here. This guy is already routing. However, I do not manage to kill the general. But I'm not too concerned because we are a cavalry unit. These guys don't have precursor javelins, but I am keeping my eye out for these couple of units. These guys should definitely have a precursor javelin. So before they get in range of my cavalry, I'm going to try to disperse and move around. Meanwhile, we are slowly moving our front line, and as you can see, we are nicely aligned ourselves to the incoming enemy, and I now decide to pull out my cavalry. What I'm going to try to do is try to move around because we still have the general. We have a few remaining units of that unit that routed. In fact, we have 4 or 5 of those units remaining, 2 more, and the general is still alive and well. So we're going to try to catch him once we encircle the enemy, of course, and get some pin down these units, of course, in the center. Meanwhile, the enemy also has a lot of missile units that are chilling in the back. We are eventually going to try to deal with them as well. However, as you can see, we're slowly but surely moving up our units. We're trying to position our units as best as we can, and we are going to use that control plus up key to completely plug in the gaps and then enable our phalanx formation, of course, our pikemen formation. And with that, this unit should not be able to do too much damage against us. We do have that incline, which kind of helps us a little bit in our combat. And over here, I do notice the general, who's finally free, so we are charging in our cavalry to quickly dispatch of the general. Seeing that the left flank of the enemy is pinned down, we are trying to encircle them with moving in our hurry Night Strikers. They do have a precursor javelin, so the idea over here is to hurl some of our precursor javelins into the unshielded side of this unit. In fact, they don't have shields, which means they will take quite a lot of damage. We're trying to move up a little bit more effectively. Meanwhile, on the right flank, there's no real threat, so we're moving up our champions of Tivas as well as our Hari Night Strikers in order to complete our encirclement. Our archers have moved completely around the enemy unit so that we can fire into their unshielded side as well. This unit over here has begun to retreat, and I am going to try my level best to wipe out as many of the enemy units as I possibly can. Meanwhile, we're going to try to use our Hari Night Strikers to hit at this unit into the flank and try to get them to rout out of the battlefield. The Hari Night Strikers are really good units. They're able to dish out a lot of damage. A little bit of a micromanagement error over there. It's still firing my archers, but I quickly move them up to deal with the next unit, of course. And we are also moving our cavalry. As you can see, our Sarmatian cataphracts doing really nicely, and we are going to try to just hunt down as many of the enemy units that are in full retreat. Meanwhile, I notice some of these units are still hanging back, so I am trying to move my entire army, as you can see, try to encircle them, try to keep moving up my pikemen, of course. Keep in mind, if you have to disengage your pike units, you have to hit the control down so that they do not collide with each other. Then you can go ahead, hit that control up to plug in the gaps once again and deploy your phalanx formation. Meanwhile, a Cheruski Axeman kind of got charged over here, but I'm not too concerned. What I am doing is moving my Hari Night Strikers in and around the enemy unit. We are going to try to charge into the rear of this unit. Our Hari Night Strikers over here, however, are going to charge into these other units. And we see a lot of missile units that are not protected, which is an open playing field for, of course, my Sarmatian cataphracts. But I am definitely focusing on wiping out any of the retreating units because I do not want to fight a walled settlement garrison. So the idea is to completely encircle them as best as we can, wipe out as many of the units that are in retreat. And as you can see, all of these units are at full strength, but just because of the fear ability of our army, they are already wavering, which is pretty insane. If you ask me, that's just how powerful the Germanic army is. And truth be told, guys, I do notice that these pike units are a little bit clunky, a bit slow. So it will be really interesting to see how Cheruski Axemen fare. Meanwhile, our Sweby veteran skirmishers have toggled on that skirmish mode so that they can kind of kite this unit. I have assigned my archers to keep focus firing against this unit so that we are able to deal with the only melee unit that's over here. I am slowly but surely micromanaging my Sarmatian cataphracts in order to attack as many of these missile units, and as you can see, even before the charge is complete, they're completely routed. But this is actually bad news, because I have to hunt down as many of these guys as I possibly can in order to wipe them out, so that the besieging of the capital of Noria becomes a lot easier in the future. As you can see, even this unit has completely routed out. All that remains is these last 3 spear units, and of course this Celtic bowmen. We have decided not to give chase to them because they're really close to their spear units, and I do not want my cataphracts to take any losses, although I can be a little bit generous because Sarmatian cataphracts come from that foreign population class, so it's not going to be all that hard to replenish them. Meanwhile, my champions of Tivas really even haven't gotten an opportunity to engage in the fight. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to move up our entire front line to engage these last 3 units of spearmen. And we have to be really clinical with how we do this, because if they rout, they are really close to the to the bounds of the battlefield, so most of them will survive. So what we want to do is we want to encircle them entirely before they can do that. Alright, there we have it. We're slowly but surely moving towards them. And what we are going to try to do is we no longer need the oblique order, since we have the numerical superiority. So we're going to straighten out our pikemen, and we're going to try to pin down these units before we go ahead and encircle them. Most of our cataphracts have, dealt with all of the retreating units, so there's not many retreating units left. All of them are going to be wiped out. But for now, what we are doing, as you can see, we are slowly but surely encircling the enemy units. We're even moving our cataphracts into position to ensure that none of these units can escape. These bowmen kind of retreat, which is rather unfortunate, but we are going to assign our cataphracts to deal with them. I'm a bit slow in order to do so, but thankfully our cataphracts will be able to wipe them out completely. Meanwhile, we have activated our pike formation. We are moving in quick time to make sure that we pin down these units. We got our champions of Tivas who haven't seen any action just yet. They're cheering and of course applying that fear ability on these units, and as you can see, we do assign our cataphracts to hunt down these units. Hopefully they manage to wipe out as many of these units as possible, and we just about almost wiped them out. And as you can see, we managed to completely shatter the enemy army, which means it's time to charge in as many of our units. Of course, I continue the battle in order to make sure that I wipe out all of these units, and as you can see, they're being completely surrounded. Sweboz veterans skirmishers are also going to charge into the fray. Our champions of Tivas are also going to charge, and so there you have it. You see an absolute utter carnage. And if you guys noticing a little bit of a difference in my reshade, that is because I have a new shader which I am gonna include in my Discord server so that you guys can download it for yourself. It is basically a lighting or ray tracing reshade. As you can see, if I turn it off, it's quite a bit of a difference in the quality, of course, with the ability turned on and off. So there you have it. That's with the ability turned off, that's with the ability turned on. However, with that, as you can see, complete carnage over here. None of these guys are gonna escape. Maybe a couple of them might escape due to the hitbox, but for the most part they're going to be wiped out. Keep in mind, in order to wipe out a unit completely, they have to be less than 30 men in the unit. So as you can see over here with this Celtic tribesman, they're currently only 20 men in the unit, which means they will be wiped out at the end of the battle. However, that being said and done, we have won our first battle against the Nori, a decisive battle, to the cheers, of course, of the Sarmatian cataphracts, who were quite decisive in this battle, and I will see you all in the campaign. Alright, and with that, we have won our first battle against the Nori. We have taken out the army stationed outside their capital of Noria. We managed to significantly weaken their garrison. They only have one remaining unit left. We are going to go ahead and enslave all of the captives, of course, and we are going to push for the settlement of Noria itself. Should be a pretty easy auto-resolve, 100%. Let's go ahead, take the settlement. What we are going to do is we are going to loot it and sack it. So let's go ahead. First, let's sack the settlement, And hopefully we have enough movement points and we can go ahead and loot the settlement. So that is about 30,000 denarii just from those 2 actions, of course. And of course we have our foothold in Noricum. What we are going to do is we're going to turn off the taxation over here real quick. We're going to repair all of the buildings we need and dismantle the buildings we do not need. And with that, we are done with this turn. So we're going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when we are ready to push even deeper into Norea. We do have a spy up here in the north, and I kind of want to move him down south over here, so that I get a line of sight of Cisalpina. Keep in mind the Nori do have 2 of the northernmost settlements in Cisalpina. They have the settlement of Pavium as well as Mediolanum or Mediolanum. If we conquer these 2 before the Romans can, then we will have a foothold in Italy, which will allow us for an easier expansion against the Romans in the future, of course. However, that being said, let us go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to couple of turns ahead. Character has leveled up, some have returned from a mission. We're going to go ahead and see the character that has leveled up. It is our champion. What we want is, of course, the stratagem as well as the strategic genius, and we want to improve valor so that we get more experience per turn for our general, of course. This is, of course, Folco, who's in charge of Harjas to Tenterijos. He's just outside the settlement of Alcimonius. So what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead, attack the settlement. Of course, I'm not going to showcase that battle because it is a pretty easy garrison battle. We are going to night attack, of course, for that extra morale penalty. However, things are slowly stabilizing over here in Noria. Of course, what we are going to do is we're going to keep moving our spy a little bit ahead, perhaps even sabotage the settlement. And the sabotage was successful. Meanwhile, we can actually even push into Pavium. We can in fact attack over here, which is what I am trying to do, or I think I want to do. So let's just go ahead and attack. It's pretty good auto resolve. However, I'm not going to auto resolve it. What I am going to do is I'm going to fight it out, but once again, it's not a very difficult battle, so I'm not going to be showcasing both of these battles. And of course, I am going to be fighting in that nighttime. Meanwhile, of course, we have a Flotus 1 Sweboz that is building up its fleet. We are going to attack the Germanic pirates as well as the Britannic pirates as quickly as we possibly can once this fleet is fully built up. Let's take a quick look at our politics. Everything seems to be fine. All of our female characters have been leveled up. Our political rivals are very loyal towards us. Let's see if we can actually even promote some characters. We can promote this guy, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go, there we have it. And I could promote this guy as well, however I'm not too keen on doing so. The reason being is because of course it will be, well, actually it's not that expensive, only 624 denarii, so let's go ahead and promote him. As you can see, it is having a you know, it is incrementally more expensive the more you click per turn, so you typically want to do political actions only once per turn. However, this character has been completely promoted, which is kind of good, and things are looking quite nice. Meanwhile, quick look at our settlements. You can see we can build an enclosed settlement as well as a shaman's hut over here, improving our growth per turn, of course. Quick look at some of the other settlements, of course. Yes, we have dismantled the level 2 tribal gathering in Noria, and that is because it gives us a good amount of garrison, and we can pretty much rebuild it, which means in about 4 turns we will have a pretty full garrison in Noria. Meanwhile, I'm not too concerned about the Scordisi. We have a decent relationships with them. They are the only ones who could potentially attack me. Of course, we could be attacked by the Liburnoi. That is because, of course, they are allied to the Nori. However, my eastern front is looking pretty secure. However, that being said and done, let us quickly hop into this battle. Of course, once again, I'm not going to be showcasing this battle. I'm going to quick save over here, hop into the battle, and I will see you all once the battle is done. Alright, we have managed to conquer Alcimonis, and we are going to go ahead and sack and loot the settlement. So let's go ahead, sack it, and then we are also going to go ahead and loot it. Should be a lot of money over here. and with that we have conquered 50% of the entire province of Raetia at Noricum. Of course, the goal would be to conquer the settlement of Korea as well as Octoduran if we can within this episode. However, that being said, let us quickly dismantle the buildings we don't need. We are going to convert this into another military recruitment province. So what I want to do is I actually want to dismantle as many of the buildings as possible. I want to focus on the growth rate in Raetia at Noricum. Of course, we can see over here we have 20% Germanic cultural influence, and that is growing by 2% per turn. We have a total influence of 25 versus the local 16 influence for the Celtic culture. Of course, we are going to try to maximize that once we conquer the entirety of the province. However, that being said, we are going to go ahead and attack Pavium. I am going to quick save over here, hop into the battle. Of course, I'm not going to showcase this battle. It's a pretty easy battle. We are going to select the night attack mode in order to inflict the maximum morale penalty, of course. And once the battle is over, I will see you all back in the campaign. And there we have defeated the garrison as well as the army within the settlement of Pavium. We are going to go ahead and sack and loot the settlement, of course. Let's see, we can go ahead and sack it, and hopefully we will be able to loot it as well. And there we go, we can get a pretty easy auto resolve, and let's go ahead and loot it. And as you can see, we have reached Imperium level 4, which is really great, which means we can recruit yet another army. However, our economy is looking even better. Food is looking a little bit on the low side, but we are going to turn off the taxation over here. We're going to repair all of the buildings we need and dismantle the buildings we do not need. And with that, we have our first holding in, of course, the Italian peninsula. We have the region of Pavium, of course. We are pretty much done with this turn, but just a couple of things that I want to look at, of course, if any of our characters have leveled up. So let's go ahead and take some of those abilities. Very quick look to see what abilities am I really focusing on. Of course, the fear abilities are, of course, priority, so that's what we are actually going to do. We're going to focus on getting those abilities. So let's actually get all of those abilities. Perfect. And we can perhaps even level up the character. No, we cannot. Our political party is looking a little bit disloyal, and that is, of course, because of our political actions. But what we can do is we can marry off one of these characters. So let's do that, and we can send his wife to improve the public order in Cisalpina. Of course, this should help get the province under control. Of course, we're going to try to do that with Nori, of course, as well. However, with that, nothing much else to do in this turn, so I'm going to go ahead and end this turn, and I will see you all in the future when we are ready to take on Mainland, and of course we are ready to attack the Raetia. Alright, welcome to the future. We are going to take the civil development for increased research in our civil tree, of course. A mission has been successful, research has been completed, and some characters have leveled up. Namely the Scourges of the Sea. This is going to be a future Governor General, so we are going to go ahead and give him the abilities to be a good Governor General, of course. However, with the piracy situation up here in the north, this fleet is starting to take attrition. I managed to scare it away, so that was basically the idea. What we are going to do is we are going to move for the British pirates. Hopefully these guys take a little bit more attrition, and they should pretty much be wiped out. Meanwhile, we have Harjas 3 Katejos. It's completely recruited up, and of course I have seen one of your comments in the comment section of the previous video advising me, or rather requesting me, to build up a purely melee focused army. Of course, this is not the final focus of the army. Of course, these units are going to be transferred over to the units of the armies over here, so that is pretty much the goal. However, we are in the future, and as you can see, we are besieging Mainland, and they have taken some attrition. It's pretty tight auto resolve, so I am just simply going to stay over there and start building up some siege equipment, of course, in order to help take over the settlement a lot quicker. Meanwhile, we have a spy over here in Korea, which I am going to go ahead and sabotage the settlement, and there you have it. I can get a line of sight, of course, on this army over here, which should be reinforced by the garrison of Korea. However, I'm not too interested in that garrison. What I am going to do is going to go ahead, attack this army over here. Should be a very decisive auto-resolve over here, so let's go ahead, auto-resolve that one. We are going to go ahead and slave all of the captives. We are going to keep pushing, of course, towards that army. We're going to go once again with the night attack, and there we have it. We have managed to completely take over, and now we can attack Korea. The auto-resolve is not looking good. This is going to be a pretty massive battle, so we're going to have to fight it. However, before we go ahead and do that, let's take a quick look at our politics, of course. We can even level up this character, so let's get the Wolves of Tivas, of course. We want the Indomitable Infantry, and we want the Fura Germanicus. Since we have completed our research, our next focus should be on improving the loyalty of our parties. Of course, as you can see, our political parties have a fairly decent loyalty, so I might not have to improve that. Instead, what I could focus on is fertilization, because that will give me access to Saltkin as well as the cattle ranches, which are pretty important buildings in my opinion, especially if you want to maximize your food. Over here, what we can do is we can upgrade some of the buildings. A lead smelter in Herkinia, that will give us some empire maintenance. And of course, quick look at Lugia. Of course, we want to upgrade all of our buildings over here so that we maximize on our income. Income right now is slightly lower than what it was when we started, of course, the episode, and that is because we have a lot more troops and a lot more ships, so that of course is going to be a lot more difficult to maintain. However, I'm not too concerned. Meanwhile, we can even upgrade the glass factory. We have two options over here. We can go for the glass market, or we can go for the ornate glass complex, and I'm going to go for the ornate glass complex. The reason being is that it gives me a lot more resources, and at the same time, yeah, I mean, pretty much gives me a lot more resources, which means it will boost up my trade income. Meanwhile, the real question over here is what should we do with, of course, our technology. And with technology, I'm kind of wondering, we did take the civil tree, so it will be a lot easier to go down that civil tree. However, you know what, I am going to go ahead and get the stone footing. It's not that important, but it is kind of nice if I can upgrade all of these to give me better sanitation. As of now, sanitation isn't much of a problem in most of our provinces, of course, and that is because, you know, we have really high sanitation due to the sewage ditch over here. However, that will change really quickly, so what I need to do is definitely I need to research the stone footing, especially for my economic province, as well as to improve the growth rate over here. Meanwhile, in Ascopolis, as you can see, I've gone ahead and dismantled the timber trading building, and the reason being is I want to build an outpost which will boost my growth rate even further. Of course, if we take a look at our growth rate map mode, we can see Swabia is at 100%, Lugia is starting to dip a little bit, Herkinia as well, and of course some of the other provinces as well. However, I'm not too concerned. What we are going to do, however, is we are going to quick save over here. We're going to hop into the battle. It's not going to be a very easy battle. We have taken quite some losses over here due to those auto resolves, and these units are pretty heavily armored, and they have quite a lot of them. They have about what do we have here? 7 plus 3. They have 10 of those units. We're going to toggle on the night mode. We're going to quick save, hop into the battle, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to the battle against Korea, against the Raetia. Of course, we have arranged our army in this typical formation with our 5 divisions, our far left flank, our immediate left flank, our core infantry, our immediate right flank, and of course our right flank. And of course, since we do have the guerrilla deployment, we have gone ahead and stationed our troops on the high ground. We're going to try to keep running in order to quickly engage the enemy. Of course, a lot of these enemy units are medium swordsmen with about 20 armor, so they're nothing to scoff at. They have about 10 of these units, and so they will be quite dangerous to our own troops, but we need to fight extremely quickly and extremely decisively. A drawback of this unit is that they have slightly low morale, being a garrison unit. What we are trying to do is we're trying to engage as many of these units as possible. We're going to keep pushing forward, be a bit more aggressive, and realizing that the enemy front line is too massive, we are stretching out our own front line in order to react to the enemy. We have gone ahead and arranged all of our Cherusci pikemen. We're going to keep pushing with them, and we are going to activate the phalanx formation. Meanwhile, on the left hand side of things, we are maneuvering our units in order to shoot at the unshielded side. Of course, we have our Swaby archers, as well as of course our Swaby veteran skirmishers. You will see a lot of chaotic, formations over here, and that's because we're being really offensive. We're not really holding our ground that much. But what we are trying to do is pin down as many of the enemy units as possible. You'll see a lot of gaps in our front line, but that means there's going to be a lot of gaps in the enemy formation as well, which we can exploit to our advantage. Meanwhile, our cavalry is completely encircling the enemy. They aren't going to be doing much in this battle except for a couple of rear charges. Our Hari Night Strikers have managed to rout out a unit, so we're going to charge downhill into this unit, which is losing decisively. They're being pelted in on all sides, so things are looking quite good on that left flank of ours. Of course, we have the enemy general unit that we have to pay close attention to. We are slowly but surely, moving our right flanking maneuver as well. We have a couple of our Hari Night Walkers, as well as, of course, our champions of Tivas. Keep in mind, our army is not at full strength because we did a couple of auto resolves before this battle. But as you can see, it's nothing too dangerous. We managed to pretty much rout out a lot of the units. We don't have a urgent need to wipe out all of these units because it is a settlement battle, which means they will be wiped out regardless. So I don't mind basically letting them run, but the main objective is to take as less casualties as possible. Try to dispatch a lot of the enemy units as possible. As you can see over here on that left flank, we managed to rout out the enemy general, which means a lot of the enemy army is going to be significantly impacted morale wise, which is even great considering, of course, we do have a lot of morale penalties that we can apply onto the enemy. As you can see, all that remains is the enemy center, which we are slowly but surely encircling. We have our cavalry all around the enemy, and we are going to try to keep pushing into the enemy, trying to apply our fear debuffs onto the enemy, of course. Meanwhile, all the way over here in the back, we're trying to encircle the enemy nice and slow, although I don't think it's really necessary. We can simply flank over here, and very soon I am going to go ahead and flank them. I do realize that this unit is unengaged, so I am using my pikemen to keep pushing into those units. Meanwhile, not much left. There are just about 5 units left in the battle, 4 units, and we are going to go ahead and charge in our champions of Tivas into the backs of these units, and they should be able to do quite decisively well against this unit. This unit is completely shaken. They're taking quite a bit of losses, and of course they are going to waver and retreat from the battlefield. So there you have it, some really nice fighting going on over here. A lot of the enemies are in complete retreat, and I don't continue the battle because keep in mind it is a settlement battle, which means I will completely wipe out the army. However, that being said and done, I'm going to go ahead, end the battle, and I'll see you all back in the campaign. Alright, we have a pretty decisive victory. We lost only about 350 men. We have managed to conquer the settlement of Korea. I don't think I have enough movement range, so I'm simply just gonna loot the settlement instead of sack as well as loot it. And with that, we can basically dismantle all of the buildings we do not require. And yeah, things are looking good over there. Meanwhile, we are going to move our dignitary. I think I want to move him, let's see, I want to move him as close towards the other settlement, of course, because I want our dignitaries to keep moving westward, because eventually we are going to try to invade into Gaul, of course, and the closer you move your dignitaries in the turn that they have been disabled, because we have conquered Korea, so this dignitary was disabled. So what we are going to do is we're going to try to keep moving him westwards in anticipation, of course, of making sure that he can reach Gaul as quickly as possible. However, of course, we are still besieging the settlement of Maidland. Nothing much else to do in this turn. We can go ahead and end this turn. And with that, I will see you all in the future. And hopefully we will be able to take out Maidland. That was a pretty good battle over here in Korea, so things are looking quite good. As you can see, our realm is slowly but surely increasing in size, and I'm pretty happy at the progress. However, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Some of the characters have leveled up, so let's go ahead and give them the abilities. We want to focus on cultural conversion, of course, food as well as research rate. And meanwhile, this character over here has also leveled up, so let's focus on that cultural conversion. Can go for the industry as well as the public order. Quick look at our settlements. We can upgrade this settlement over here, so let's go ahead and do that. We can get another building over here. We do have the weaponsmith, so we're going to focus on the armorer so that we get more armor, of course. And over here we're going to build yet another shaman's hut. Meanwhile, our spy, we can move him all the way towards Octoduran. That's the final settlement we require to consolidate our rule over Raetia at Noricum, of course. Meanwhile, this character over here could could reinforce over here. We have a decent auto resolve, 64%. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to perhaps wait a turn to see if I can kind of replenish. I don't really want to lose any of my units. I could actually move him towards Alcimones. We should be able to have a little bit more. However, I'm a bit cautious because I don't want Korea to be taken. However, let's just go ahead and move him towards Alcimones. Meanwhile, Kasurgis has leveled up, so we can build yet another building over here. And what we are going to focus on is we are going to build, let's say, we can build a temple over there. I think that should be a good thing. Meanwhile, Sweboz has also leveled up, so we're going to build a shaman's hut over there. We are going to keep moving our army down south, and we are going to try to transfer off some of the troops if we possibly can. These pirates have returned back, and I don't think they have taken a lot of attrition, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to attack them, see if they will stay in the fight. Of course, they do not. And they're actually kind of full, which is rather surprising. But in the next turn, we are going to attack them over there, and we're going to get rid of the Germanic pirates, of course. Quick look at our politics. We do have the final level of authority that we need for this character. We can send her on a vacation so that she improves her cunning, of course. Meanwhile, over here, one of our daughters has come of age, so let's go ahead and improve her zeal. After that, we can even marry her off to get access to another character. And things are looking quite good. As far as our army caps and our naval caps is concerned, we are almost maxed out. Of course, I could get some more fleets, but I'm not really interested in doing so because I don't have a lot of ports in which I can dock those fleets. So we are basically just waiting until we gain or acquire some more ports. Let's take a look at our buildings. Things are looking quite decent over here. And we could even in fact upgrade this building, but I don't think that's the right play because we are kind of short on food. Meanwhile, we can see if we can use some of our political rivals to improve their loyalty by organizing games. Of course, this also serves to improve the public order in the province of Raetia at Noricum. We can also send the other character on her final mission to get her final level of Shield Maiden. And over here we're going to focus on a bread end game, so sending an emissary to improve our food. Of course, our food surplus is at 24, which is the maximum we need, or the minimum we need for that maximum growth rate. And things are looking quite good. Speaking of growth rate, let's take a quick look at our growth rate. The growth rate is not entirely that good, but it will improve very quickly, especially once we are able to upgrade our sewage ditch into a drainage ditch. Of course, we need about 10 turns to complete the research for the stone footing, after which we can upgrade some of our sanitation buildings, of course. However, with that, I don't think there's much else left to do in this turn, apart from the fact that we can keep moving our dignitary towards Octoduran, and we are going to deploy him over there in order to culturally convert the province. Meanwhile, Germanic culture over here is at 30%, so it's growing slowly and steadily. We are decreasing the influence of Celtic culture by wiping out one by one the Celtic tribes. And speaking of wiping out the Celtic tribes, what we are going to do is we are going to cancel our trade agreement with the Helvetii, of course, because we want to attack them soon. However, with that, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. The idea will be to march Harjas to Tencterijos through the Alps towards Mediolanum, take over the settlement, wipe out the Nori, and consolidate the majority of the regions within the province of Cisalpina, of course, after which we are going to push up northwards and conquer Octoduran itself. Alright, welcome to the future. We are going to take Rally the Horseman. Some characters have leveled up, so let's level them up. We have a spy over here that's leveled up. We can take these abilities. And we have the general over here that has leveled up, so let us take the other abilities that we need. Quick look at all of our provinces. We can go ahead and build that shield maker. Meanwhile, I am contemplating converting this into a commercial province because I just noticed that the amber goods gives a very low amount of wealth. However, the other buildings over here, you know, they give a lot more commerce, so we can stand to benefit if we convert it into a commercial province instead. However, we have got rid of these Germanic pirates, so what we are going to do is we're going to move westwards to deal with the Britannic pirates. Meanwhile, we have also leveled up our settlement or province over here in Magna Germania, so we're going to go ahead build another shaman's hut, really to improve the growth rate even further. We could in fact build a farm. However, for now I want to build a shaman's hut so that we can maximize our growth. Meanwhile, it seems like all of the other provinces are seemingly doing fine. We have Harjas 3 Katijos that's finally made its way into Cisalpina. We're going to keep moving him so that we can transfer off some of these melee units over to the armies over here, and then we're going to march him back up north in order to recruit some of those units that we need to fill out this army. Meanwhile, Harjas 2 Tencterijos can finally move down south towards Medlan. Hopefully they took a little bit of attrition passing the Alps. However, it's not going to be too much of a concern, which means we can easily auto-resolve this one over here. We can sack the settlement, and we are going to go ahead and in fact even loot it. That's a lot of denarii. We made about 32,000 denarii just from sacking and looting it, and as you can see, our economy is slowly bouncing back up. Of course, what this means is that in the next couple of turns we're going to move and push towards Octoduran. Quick look at Medlan over here. We can go ahead, dismantle some of these buildings and repair some of the other buildings, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's take a look at our politics. Some of our daughters have come of age. We are busy trying to you know, improve their stats, but for now we are pretty content, so let's just go ahead and improve the authority of this character over there, and we can even improve her zeal. And with that, things are looking quite good. Meanwhile, this character is 10-10-10, so things looking good on that front. Nothing much else to do. Of course, some of our other party members have leveled up, so let's just go ahead and give them those ranks, which just quickly checking to see if we can upgrade any of these characters, which is really important if we want them to generate a lot more income. Meanwhile, Harjas 1 Sweboz has also leveled up, so let's go ahead, get that weapon damage inflicted, of course, and we have pretty much gotten everything else. We can get the melee attack skill for all infantry units. The campaign movement is not that important. Charge bonus is pretty decent considering, of course, Germanic factions have a lot of charge. However, getting the melee attack skill for all units is really powerful. And of course the other thing is the melee defense skill, so let's actually focus on that. And pretty much the Wolves of the North and the Formidable Fighters are going to be the other two things we need to focus on. Meanwhile, this character has completely leveled up, so we can actually take our champion and transfer him over to Harjas 3 Tengterejos or Harjas 3 Katejos in, of course, the future. However, with that, there's nothing much else left to do in this turn. We can send some of these characters on missions to improve things, but it seems like they don't have much to improve upon. So what I am going to do is actually send an emissary to Lugia, make sure that our food stays in the surplus. Our loyalty is slowly decreasing, so we have to keep a close eye out for that. However, it's really important to level up your female characters as far as ranks are concerned, and that's because it actually generates a lot more gravitas, and at the maximum level of Shield Maiden, you also get a -1 Empire maintenance faction wide. However, with that, let's go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. But before we go ahead and end the turn, let's take a quick look at, of course, our strategic map. And of course we need the faction ownership mode, and as you can see, the Nervii have been wiped out. The Iceni have gained the upper hand in that war, wiping out the Nervii, releasing the Morini from the Atrebates, so they have a pretty decent foothold in in Gaul. However, we have friendly relationships with them as well as the Averni. So things are looking quite good as far as our borders are concerned. We do have friendly relationships with the Scordisi, who are currently in a war against, of course, the Scythians. We have kind of neutral relationships with the Scythians, so our eastern front is looking, I would say, moderately secure. I mean, the Scythians could decide to attack us at, of course, Galenos, so we have to pay close attention to that. But currently, of course, the Scordisi control the roads to Galenos, so I am not too concerned of the Scythians trying to attack us. However, if they do gain a foothold in Petrodava, I will have to keep my eye out for them. Meanwhile, in the south, of course, we have a good relationships with the Romans, and the Romans have managed to push a little bit deeper into Africa. Quite a lot of things happening in the western half of Europe, of course. And yeah, pretty much what we are going to do in the next episode is we are going to focus on which way we are going to attack. We can either attack the Romans, we can either attack the Gauls, we can either attack the Iceni or even the Scordisi. So we have a lot of options to expand, a lot of directions in which we can expand, and I'm pretty much going to leave that up to you guys. I'm going to create a vote so that you guys can vote as to my route of expansion. However, with that, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when we are ready to attack the Helvetii and complete or consolidate Raetia at Noricum. Alright, welcome back to the future. Let's go ahead and turn off all of our notifications. Quick look at some of the other notifications. Alright, we have dealt with the Britannic pirates in the English Channel, but we took some heavy losses. What we are going to do is we are going to move our fleet back towards Flevum. We can transfer over some of the ships that we have recruited in the end turn, of course, and we can even maximize our fleet right now. And what we'll have to do eventually is we'll have to move our fleet all the way towards Rugion, or what we can do is actually we can send this character all the way to Rugion and instead dock our ship over here in Flevum. Since Flevum is a little bit central, we can deal with the Britannic pirates really easily, and we can deal with the Germanic pirates. None of the pirates really pose a threat to us in that they can conquer any of our settlements. However, we definitely want to deal with the pirates so that we do not take any losses to our trade income. Meanwhile, this champion can move all the way over there, so let's actually move our army, Harjas 3 Katejos, all the way over there, and we can go ahead and move our champion into that army in order to help this general level up. Meanwhile, the Helvetii are besieging Vesontio. Vesontio has a decent garrison, not too great, and of course that is their king. We are going to try to nonetheless assassinate their king. We have a 25% chance to do it, and we managed to assassinate their king successfully, which means if we attack Octoduran and conquer the settlement, we should be able to wipe out the Helvetii. So let's actually go ahead and do that. We have both of our armies, Harjas 1 Sweboz as well as Harjas 2 Tencterejos, at the mouth of the pass near the Alps, leading to Octodoran, and we are going to push forward with both of these armies and attack Octodoran. So firstly, let's move with Harjas 1 Sweboz. We're going to go ahead, declare the war against them, and of course there we have it. It's pretty good auto-resolve. In fact, if we move Harjas to Tencterejos as well, we should be having a really good auto-resolve. So there we have it, a good auto-resolve. We're going to sack the settlement. Fantastic. And then we are also going to loot the settlement. We will have to do another auto-resolve. I'm not too concerned. Let's go ahead and loot the settlement. And as you can see, we have complete control over Raetia at Noricum. We have managed to wipe out the Helvetii, which is great news. Meanwhile, we can repair some of these buildings in Octodoran itself. Let's go ahead and, you know what, I'm actually going to keep this building, although it would be more... although it would be a lot more efficient. You know what, actually let's go ahead and dismantle it. It would be a lot more efficient to build a outpost as well as a shaman's hut to improve our growth rate in Raetia and Noricum. Quick look at our map. As you can see, nothing much has changed in terms of expansion. Things seem to be stabilized, nothing much else. So let's just have a quick look at all of our provinces. Cisalpina, there we go. Magna Germania is maxed out. Swabia is in the process of being maxed out as well. Raetia at Noricum, we just had a look at that. Herginia is looking quite good. Meanwhile, over here we have gone ahead and we are going to spec it up into a commercial province, and what we need is the local tradesman, because the local tradesman gives you a whopping 16% wealth from all commerce as well as +8 tariff income from trade agreements, which is really great. Apart from that, it also gives you a +4 growth per turn, so it's really powerful building to have. Unfortunately, we're in the process of building up over here, so what we're going to do is we can actually cancel these buildings and we can actually convert them into commerce related buildings. We can even cancel this building, convert it into a commerce related building, so that we can eventually convert them into that level 3 commerce building, and that should significantly help our income. Apart from that, you know, before we go ahead and recruit these ships, oh, actually we have to recruit these ships because we don't have movement range. In the next turn we can go ahead and dock at Pavium. Meanwhile, a quick look at some of the other things. Everything seems to be fine. This, of course, is our new army composition. We no longer have pikemen. We're solely relying on melee combat ability. We do have Hari Nightwalkers, and I think the future of these units will be to support our cavalry. Of course, they're really fast moving, and yeah, they should be really helpful, especially considering that they have that fear ability. Apart from that, nothing much else left to do in this turn, and in fact nothing much else left to do in this episode. A quick look at our politics. As you can see, politically, well, we're doing quite fine. Our rival political parties are very loyal. No chance of a secession or a civil war. Of course, some of the characters are slowly but surely leveling up. What we want to do is we want to keep getting some more gravitas with them, so we can marry off all of our characters if possible, and more importantly, we can in fact even level up the stats of some of these characters. So let's go ahead, send her on a vacation to improve her cunning. Meanwhile, we are going to try to improve the stats of her leva itself. So let's go ahead and praise her so that we can improve her zeal, and with that we are looking quite good as far as everything else is concerned. So really happy over here. I'm not entirely happy with this heir. He is philosophic, which means he will not have some really good traits as a faction leader. However, we are hoping some of the other children that come of age will get some better traits so that we can declare them to be our heir instead. However, with that, I think I'm pretty much done with this episode. But before we conclude the episode, a few things I do want to mention, of course, is that I am going to be conducting a poll to see which direction this campaign will take, because it's pretty much even on all fronts. We have 3 fronts, mainly our eastern front, our southern front, and of course our western front, and pretty much you guys are going to decide what we're going to do. We're going to either attack the Scordisi, get a foothold in Dacia, or we are going to attack the Iceni. They're pretty strong. Conversely, we can even attack the Averni, gain a foothold in Gallia itself, or we can even go ahead and take the fight to Roma itself. Ideally, I would like to hit Imperium level 5 before I declare war against Roma. We're quite a ways off from Imperium level 5, so if I do go ahead and actually fight Roma, we'll have to cancel off all our agreements with the Romans. They like us quite a bit. However, once we cancel off all our agreements and we start to push down, it's going to be really hard with only 3 armies to do so. So what I might actually end up doing is getting rid of one of our governor generals so that I can get at least 4 armies, because at least 4 armies is pretty good when you're trying to invade the Italian peninsula, as Roma has quite a lot of armies, and of course we are going to try to cut down Roma to size if of course they win the vote as the next faction that I will be attacking. Apart from that, since I have been away from YouTube for quite a while owing to my health, and then of course I was traveling for Christmas, and my health did improve. However, just before I returned, my health deteriorated. As you guys noticed in the earlier parts of this video, I was coughing. But of course I'm going to take full good care of my health and try to get back on track completely, make a complete recovery. I do know that I am lagging behind in a lot of the intended videos that I intend to release, and I'm just going to cover those really quickly. Of course, we are going to keep our Sweby Let's Play series running and alive. Apart from that, I also have to focus on, you know, the factional army guide video for the Romans. Of course, it's going to be divided into 3 parts. The first part covering the Camillian army, the second part covering the Polybian army, and the final part covering the Marian/Imperial army for the Romans. And of course, apart from that, the third thing that I would like to focus on is, since we have hit 5,000 subscribers, I did promise a Let's Play Alexander campaign, so I will be releasing a Let's Play Alexander campaign side by side, and in order to celebrate, of course, that milestone of 5,000 subscribers to the channel. So guys, keep subscribing, you know, keep enjoying my content, and if you do enjoy the content, don't forget to like and subscribe if you are interested for more. Peace and love.